in Roseville. From Philly steak to crispy chicken, every bite is exceptional. Add freshly fried fries or rings for a winning combo. Visit MavericksBeef.com or find them off Lexington and Roseville. Unforgettable sandwiches, Mavericks Real Roast Beef.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, in the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and of course, in the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Tuesday. Nice to have you here with us today, Matt and Patrick. No guests this hour. Next hour, we got Patrick Cooligan from the Minnesota Reformer joining us to talk about the news that Governor Walz has decided to run for a third term. We'll get to that here a little bit later on. Patrick, I have to level some accolades here. I have to say something great because, first of all, I mean, I don't know if you saw, I think, came in as the 798th least suckiest radio show in the nation. Nice, man. We're doing better. It's happening. It's happening. Least suckiest.
I'd like to see the metrics on how they picked these out.
Oh, not the MAGA people. Actually, I do actually have something I got to say, which is really cool. Now, of course, I am broadcasting from what I like to call the mothership, AM 950 in Minneapolis, St. Paul. At nights here, we have a great show called Ghost Box Radio. Greg Bakken hosts it. It is everything that late night radio was great when I was a kid. It was why teenagers were listening to late night radio. It was, aliens and psychics and Bigfoot and ghosts, and it was everything cool. Well, he actually did, as opposed to my goofy little joke I did there, he actually is delivering. The Million Podcast folks have ranked him the 12th best ghost hunting podcast in the nation. It is a live radio show, which is podcastable. Ta-da! Welcome to modern media. He, of course, the 12th best in the nation. So if you like ghosts, and we are in the haunting season, and I do not mean the gastrointestinal results of me having too much pumpkin spice stuff. No, I'm talking about actual real ghosts. Ooh, spooky. What I just said there is the reason why he will never let me on his show unless I want to talk about Doctor Who. Then I'm welcome. But if it's anything but Doctor Who, then I'm not welcome on Ghost Box Radio. And that's good because I guarantee you if he had me on his show, he wouldn't have been 12. He is fantastic. It's Ghost Box Radio, Greg Bakken, Chicago folks, Seattle folks. You want to hear something great, find the podcast, Ghost Box Radio. Just go to AM 950 Radio. But we're all very excited about him, considering the plethora of shows like that are out there. The fact that he's top 15 in the nation, that's really cool. So very, very well done and very well deserved as the praise that he needs, which is going to piggyback me into the next. Speaking of people we need to praise, man, Robert Redford. How much of a Redford fan were you, Patrick?
Big one.
He was good. The thing which was really cool was there are a lot of people, a lot of young people, Generation Z, who kind of fell in love with him for the Winter Soldier. Because if you haven't seen that one of the Marvel movies, it is definitely one of the better ones. And he plays such an integral role in that movie. And there's just, if you want to know how good he was as an actor, there's a scene in there with him and the Winter Soldier at a kitchen table. And yeah, just, a phenomenal actor, an absolutely phenomenal actor. He passed away, 89 years old, as handsome as the day is long. I mean, my God. I mean, there are handsome actors. And then he was probably one of the few actors I've seen in my lifetime that actually could kind of say, okay, Brad Pitt, move to the side. And I understand there's some people out there like, what? But he was. I mean, tall, cool glass of water. He's just phenomenal. I mean, his everything that he did in regards to producing, conservation, the Sundance movie, independent movies. I mean, my God, I don't think independent movies would be nearly as pertinent or viable today if not for Robert Redford. And the whole Sundance Movie Festival, it was just such an important part to create an American film festival that was on par with some of the great ones in the world. That really highlighted international film, or independent film, not international, independent film, sometimes international, but independent film. He was amazing on that level. But he also just was such a amazing actor. And if Patrick, if you had to pick one role that he did that was your favorite of all time, which one would it be?
I kind of got to go with that Winter Soldier one you just mentioned.
Winter Soldier, Captain America, Winter Soldier was, he played. It did not make my top 5. It made my runners up list because because he just had so many. I started going through his IMDb page, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's this movie, Winter Soldier. He reprised the role for Endgame. He reprised the role, and he looked, he would have been 85, maybe 83. 83 when he reprised his role in the movie Avengers Endgame. But I will make this point too. Captain America Winter Soldier is probably next to Thor Ragnarok, the second best movie they made in the entire series. It's that or Black Panther. That movie is a great spy film disguised as a superhero film. And Robert Redford brought all of his ability and stuff to the table. If you haven't seen that one, you are missing out. And Robert Redford aside, the fight scene on the streets between Captain America and Winter Soldier is one of the best hand-to-hand fight scenes you will ever see in your entire life. Hands down. That thing is amazing. I can't even comprehend how long it took them to choreograph that thing. Unbelievable. I'll give you another one that was going to go under the radar, but is actually a really good film in the romantic comedy genre, Legal Eagles. He was phenomenal in Legal Eagles. Deborah Winger, if I'm not mistaken, and Daryl Hannah shows up, and Brian Dennehy shows up in that one too. That's the thing that's crazy about Robert Redford films. Every Robert Redford film I came across today, I was like, oh yeah, and that person was in that one, and that person was in that one. I don't know if it was because that the second they signed Redford, everyone else signed up, but something like that was going on. Legal Eagles. You want a fun, light, entertaining, and keep you guessing romantic comedy legal drama. That is, Legal Eagles is a fantastic one. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I was reading today about the fact that he apparently wasn't the first choice, that they wanted Steve McQueen and they had to settle for him. But what they ended up doing was creating one of the greatest on-film teams of all time, and with him and him and Paul Newman. It just was, you couldn't replicate that. And I don't think that if you put Steve McQueen with Newman, it would have worked nearly as well. That was just amazing. So here are my 5 top Redford ones. Those are just the ones I'm suggesting. Here are my 5 top ones. Another one that I guarantee you is going to go under the radar, Sneakers, 1992. He's in it. Sidney Poitier's in it. Let's see, who else is in that? You have Dan Aykroyd's in that one. David Strathern's in that one. River Phoenix is in that one. A fantastic film about guys that pull off heists. With a major double cross and a really good tense film. I really like Sneakers. Brubaker, 1980, I believe it was, the film where he takes over the prison and discover. Yeah, I won't. A lot of these films are probably going to be available for everyone to watch. Go watch Brubaker. It's a really good film. The Sting. It was, yeah. The Sting is still as good as ever. Once again, reteaming up, Newman and Redford in another classic film. The Great Gatsby, I thought he did Gatsby better than Leonardo DiCaprio did. I thought he did. The Great Gatsby I thought was great. And then, of course, the consummate one is All the President's Men, a film about the Woodward and Bernstein exposing Nixon, paying off the Watergate break-in people to basically try to get dirt on the Democrats. It's what's great about that movie is to watch how journalism used to work. And what's also funny is you're seeing such great journalism that the vast majority, I mean, I can't tell you how many journalists today wish they were Woodward and Bernstein and All the President's Men, but the reality is I wish I was like them. Oh, here are some more Republican talking points I just need to print as actual news. Okay. It's about having a spine. There you go. People wanted to chime in on this one. Julie wanted to chime in today out of Minneapolis about Robert Redford. Welcome on in, Julie.
Yeah, I'll tell you quickly about my short-term relationship with him. But first of all, I want to remind people that he got the Oscar for directing Ordinary People.
Yeah.
Ordinary People was based on the novel by Judith Guest. And what makes it interesting locally, it was supposedly taking place in Edina, Minnesota. He chose Mary Tyler Moore as a star because he saw something in her, perfection on the outside, but very brittle and kind of falling apart on the inside. And her son in the movie was suicidal and talked to a psychiatrist. I thought it was very, very interesting, very impressive. And up until then, he was pretty much just treated as a pretty face.
Yeah.
Now, I got a letter from him.
Really?
In the early 2000s. I have no idea how he got my address. At the time, well, we know he's an environmentalist, but I was involved in a little environmental task force. We were cleaning up the lakes in Minneapolis. But I asked other people, did you get a letter from Robert Redford? Well, needless to say, when I saw it from Robert Redford, I got a little excited. I mean, he was old then. He was in his 60s, but come on, Robert Redford in 60s.
I'd still tap that. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I opened it and started reading it, and I was disappointed because it was all about the environment. Now, I've been a tree hugger since I was a little kid, but you kind of hope when you get a letter from Robert Redford, it's not going to be a passionate letter about the environment. But anyway, that's what it was. It was not a fundraising letter, and I still can't imagine how I got his address. But anyway, people should look up Ordinary People. It was very impressive.
And Julie, I'm going to have to step in on there because I got to get into the break there. But the letter I got from Redford, it was all hot. Hold on, Pat. I'll get your call in a second. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hi, I'm Corey Wisco, president of the Welshire. The Welshire excels as a memory care community in the Twin Cities, located in Bloomington, and we have a new location in Medina. But what makes Welshire so different is the people that we have working for us. Our team has been together for the past 25 years providing this type of care. We employ some of the most amazing nurses and LPNs that are in the building 24 hours a day. We also have an activity team that is over 40 people. And our scheduling begins at 9 o'clock in the morning for activities, and it goes to 7, 8 o'clock at night. And that's 7 days a week. You won't find that. That is why many of the families that come to Welshire are actually coming from another memory care facility. Not all memory care is created equally. And that's why I encourage you, if you've had issues and problems at other places, come see what makes us so special. Please visit thewelshiremn.com and book a tour.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. It's the start of our favorite season in Minnesota, football season. With all the hype and action this season brings, we know things can get loud and messy quick. Before you invite your friends and family over to watch the big game, you better call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to clean up all of those fumble moments in your home. And as always, you can score a guaranteed touchdown with great savings from Zero Res this month. Carpet, tile, rugs, upholstery, every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. And this month you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $129. plus $75 off an air duct cleaning, and don't forget about your dryer vent, too. Having Zero Res over will be a big victory for your home. You'll always come away a winner, even if the guys in the purple or the maroon don't. Call 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at MaryTinc.com.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The easy all-in-one plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus many extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Yeah, we forget that as a director, too. Not only did he do Ordinary People, but A River Runs Through It and Quiz Show. He was nominated for director in Quiz Show, and Quiz Show was nominated for Best Picture as well. So he was nominated there. He did win for Best Director in Ordinary People, and he was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role in The Sting. He was nominated, did not win that. He did get an honorary Oscar as well. Actor, director, producer, creator of Sundance, inspirational, independent, and innovative filmmakers everywhere was what they gave it to him for in 2002. Which, yeah, and he was still doing movies up until the late 2010s. He was still doing movies, and he still was producing like crazy. So, God, that one hurts. Watch him in The Sting. I'm serious, man. You be you. I think, you be you. LGBTQ, I'm an ally, hands down. I am a heterosexual male, but you look at him in The Sting. Oh my God. He was an attractive man. He was. I will also say, The Natural. I didn't talk about The Natural because for me, that personally, I know some people that are not fans of baseball, and so the movie's a little, I think The Natural is the greatest sports movie ever made. I honestly think The Natural is the greatest sports movie ever made. Hands down. There is no better movie about sports than The Natural. And it is still one of those movies, I've seen it probably at least 50 times. I see a scene of it come up somewhere, whether on YouTube or I turn on, it's on there. I cannot not watch it. Just amazing. And once again, another movie just chock full of stars and celebrities. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. So let's turn our attention to something, and we definitely need to talk more about this attempt by Republicans to convince everybody that the sky is plaid, that it's not blue, that it's plaid. It's always been plaid. Anyone who doesn't say it's plaid is a fool, that sort of thing. The shooter of Charlie Kirk, I want to just be blunt. If the same amount of evidence, granted somewhat circumstantial, but if the same amount of evidence existed tying the shooter to me as it does to the Groyper movement, that far-right movement from Nick Fuentes and Laura Loomer, that seems to be a likely source of where this individual probably got his motivations. Not confirmed, but it definitely seems like this guy was inspired by. If as many ties to the Groyper movement existed for the shooter as they did, to me, on that same level, you would have me arrested right now, and I wouldn't be investigated. I'd be being charged. It just, there comes a point where there clearly seems to be enough ties here to the Groyper movement that the reluctance by the national news media and the determination of MAGA to say, no, it isn't, it becomes somewhat ludicrous. The Utah governor said investigators found inscriptions engraved on the bullet casings found with the gun found at the scene of the crime. On a spent casing from the bullet was fired, all the inscriptions referred to obscure memes and language common along gamer culture. Even the engravings with political meanings, with some cryptic political meanings, may not be so clear cut. One of the bullets are the words "Hey, fascist, catch!" an arrow up symbol, a right arrow symbol, a 3 down arrow symbols, said the governor. I think that it speaks for itself. Now, they're saying it speaks for itself because they want to make it Antifa, but that's not Antifa. Those words, though, are likely a reference to a sequence of moves on a controller that unleashes powerful bomb and accompanying phrase of mid-third-person shooter video game called Helldivers 2. The phrase also morphed into a meme that is commonly used on message boards to signal end the conversation. Those message boards generally far-right wing ones. Another message inscribed on a separate bullet notices bulges OWO. What's this? Is uncommon, used as an insult on online role-playing communities. Another read, if you read this, you're gay, LMAO, humor that's also common in online male-dominated communities. This guy isn't transgender or, he doesn't seem to be a supporter of the LGBT community. But he's definitely into these gaming cultures and this far-right, which once again intercede and intertwine with the Groyper culture. They give no clear indication of political affiliation. All the messages revealed that Robinson was a person. Now, once again, I want to make sure we say that this is the media, once again, trying to run cover for the shooter because the family raised him far-right Republican. And even grandma said everyone in that family was Republican. So you have these memes being written on the bullets which are reminiscent of Groyper gamer culture online. And you have a history of this individual being someone who is definitely of the Republican ilk, was raised that way around gun culture. There is nothing expressly conclusive about his participation in specific online groups as of now. His social media and posting histories are not available, but these memes tend to be posted on more politically incorrect anonymous message gamer boards and gamer chat types. They're not exactly going to be out on your standard Discord conversation. They are for these kind of far-right dark web groups. And I mentioned when this shooting happened, is this another guy that seems to have delved into that online weird culture which celebrates mass shooters and assassins? They're not letting us know this right now. They also talk about being ambiguous, and that's kind of the point of what they're doing. The memes are about people can be complicated, and they can illustrate that someone finds to be funny or signal their affiliation with certain subcultures. Generally, that's kind of the main point. Some have drawn a link between Robinson and the far-right Groyper movement, a decentralized group of white nationalists who follows Nick Fuentes and coalesce around obscure and extremist meme culture. Ta-da! The movement has been at odds with Kirk's brand of conservatism for the same time. Some noted that a Halloween costume worn by Robinson closely represented a Groyper mascot. That's Pepe the Frog. And I'm going to come back to this. Trust me, I got a lot to talk about with this. But that's basically, it seems like that was his Halloween costume, I think it was last year. And a Bello Chow song appeared on a recent Groyper playlist. So this is one of the things he's got music from that subculture. He's dressing as mascots from the subculture. He is basically making references from the subculture. Once again, this is what they call evidence that this is pointing in the right direction of what motivated him. More in a second. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
I'm standing up for the middle class. Tom Hartman here on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
This is Mitch, owner of Junk Masters. Feeling overwhelmed by clutter? Spring's the perfect time to reclaim your space and peace of mind. Renting a dumpster is costly, and it all ends up in the landfill. Just show us what goes. We give usable items a second life by donating them. No calling all over town trying to figure out who takes what. We do the legwork for you. Easy, cost-effective, and local. There's no obligation. Visit junkmastersmn.com today.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. To avoid gimmicks, and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
The Brave New Workshop is a Minneapolis tradition and the nation's longest-running comedy theater, finding ways to make people laugh about things that should make them cry for over 65 years. And who doesn't need a good laugh right now? Seriously, who doesn't need a laugh? Come see their fall show, Hippocalypse Now, a hilarious look at a world where what people say and what people do are completely unrelated. Playing now through November 1st at the Dudley Riggs Theater in Minneapolis. Tickets available at hennepinarts.org. That's hennepinarts.org.
Hi, I'm Paige, and I invite you to listen to Reckoning with Real Estate, an inside look at the real estate world through a fresh, consumer-focused lens. Hosted by the Real Estate Collaborative, a residential real estate company, we dive into the history of housing, explore the challenges and opportunities in today's housing market, talk to past clients, and highlight the inspiring work of housing activists, experts, and our valued sponsors. Reckoning with Real Estate is about building a better real estate company in hopes of building better communities where everyone has access to a safe, stable, and affordable home. Whether you're buying your first home, selling, or simply passionate about housing justice, Reckoning with Real Estate is your go-to resource for knowledge, empowerment, and community. Join Rec and our guests every Sunday at 11 a.m. on AM 950 as we reckon with real estate. Have a question? Go to therecolab.com and hit the Let's Talk button. We'll do our best to answer it.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 89. Tonight, clear with a low around 67. And Wednesday, a chance for thunderstorms with a high around 85. Discover perfection at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. From Philly steak to crispy chicken, every bite is exceptional. Add freshly fried fries or rings for a winning combo. Visit mavericksbeef.com or find them off Lexington and Roseville. Unforgettable sandwiches. Maverick's Real Roast Beef. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Wanna believe that you don't have a bad bone in your body.
Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, in the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW, and of course in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Tuesday. All right, so I brought up all those connections to the Groyper movement. And once again, I want to also make sure I add on that both Laura Loomer and Nick Fuentes had expressed their fairly extreme displeasure with Charlie Kirk in regards to differing opinions of how extreme MAGA should be. And reminder, Groypers are the farthest right. I mean, it tells you how much the Republican Party has moved, because back in the 80s, these people weren't even in the Republican Party. There was like the libertarians, and then there was these kind of Nazi groups way out there that lived on compounds out in the middle of frickin' Montana and Michigan. And today they're actually part of MAGA. There's a reason why all these guys are screaming George Soros right now, because they're anti-Semitic Nazis in that party and they're pandering to them. That's exactly where they're at. And so I just went through a laundry list of things that would connect this guy to the Groyper movement. The Republicans seem to be determined to try to basically push this the other way. I will mention in the press conference today, what was the one guy made the point, and thanks to Telecom One pointing this out, he basically he was speaking about Robinson becoming more pro-gay and trans right oriented. Okay, first of all, what does that even mean? Was he for executing gay people and transgender people, and now he wasn't for it, or what? I don't even understand what you're kind of implying there. And the fact that the roommate was a biological male transitioning genders has absolutely zero to do with this shooter, but there is this insane attempt to try to basically argue that this is somehow all connected, even though all the stuff that I put forward generally isn't part of the LGBTQ community. All right? It just generally is not. And he said, I'd had enough of Charlie Kirk's hatred. They're trying to say this kind of like, oh, well, see, this has to be a liberal. But once again, Laura Loomer and Nick Fuentes had gone after Charlie Kirk, and there clearly was some sort of implication coming from the Groyper movement itself, maybe not necessarily from those two individuals, that Charlie Kirk was hating on Trump, was not being nice to Trump, that sort of thing. So none of this seems to... There seems to be an insane effort to say, oh, we have all this evidence pointing us in this direction. We're going to ignore that because we want this to be this. Now, I find it very interesting as they have these spokespeople coming on out. They are refusing to release his search history stuff. And I've seen all this before. I have seen, trust me, I have been doing broadcasting in this town even back in the time when Bob Kroll was basically running the Minneapolis Police Department. I know what it's like to do a character assassination job on somebody and then try to basically cover it up when that doesn't go their way. We could go to Pointergate. Do you remember that, where they tried to say that the mayor was flashing street signs when on a door-to-door get out the vote knocking event, they had two people pointing at each other and they were just like hardened gang criminals. And it was like, oh, you guys are just precious. And apparently the police department tried to sell that to multiple other news outlets, allegedly. And none of them wanted to bite until they got to the furthest right-wing outlet here in town. And they ran with it and they became a laughingstock. I have seen this game before. What they're hoping is they don't ever have to produce the evidence, because generally when the evidence comes on out, it's like, hey, you remember when we were trying to say he was, this is all about transgender people or the LGBTQ? Well, it's actually he was part of these far right wing groups, and we have to release this now as far as the evidence in court, and so yeah, it really does seem like he was influenced by right wing people. Like I said, everything right now points to him being influenced by the far right. And I want to make sure I point out something else here about the ambiguity that they put out there. And because there's this ambiguous quality that they like. I don't know if you guys remember. I've talked about the story about the white power okay sign, which is you have the three fingers spread wide and you do the okay sign, and that's the case. And I've often told the story. I was, for 2 years when I was young, I lived in rural Georgia. And I remember going past like one of the trophy cases and they had pictures of the football team, and half the white players on the football team were holding up their white power okay sign. And I was like, what is with the okay sign? And the guy says, oh, that's white power. Now, once again, big white guy, felt like, okay, we're a big white guy in rural Georgia. I can tell you the truth. Oh, that's white power. That's a white power signal. But you see, as they disguise it, so that basically if anyone questions what it is, they can just say, I was just doing the okay sign. You're the people that are adding relevance to it that's not there. He. Yeah, racist being racist. They think they're smart and clever. They're neither. This whole point about them, and the whole point about them wearing hoods and masks when they march in parks and stuff like this, they don't want to be identified. They want to be able to hide and say, well, this was actually about gaming culture, not about Nazi culture. And that's a whole point of it. I also want to go back to Pepe the Frog, because there was an interesting point that happened today. I had some guy with following one person and had 0 followers. Okay, troll. This is on Blue Sky, too. I mean, he stood out like a sore thumb. Tried to make the argument like, well, just because he used a bunch of memes that are really common with far right-wing groups doesn't mean that's true. I was using those memes since 2016, and I'm not looking to shoot somebody. I'm like, wait a second here. That's when those memes came to light, and they were embraced as far-right MAGA memes. So this guy, in a point to try to argue that, oh, the memes that this guy has always quoted and the Pepe the Frog thing, they weren't really Groyper. They were just common memes, but they weren't common for anybody but far-right MAGA people back in 2016. As a matter of fact, it was always, when I realized what it was always a unfollow if I saw someone with the Pepe the Frog thing, because it was clear where they were. So even in their defense of the Groyper movement, to try to say, oh, this is once again that ambiguity that they're trying to, oh, it wasn't really this, it was just some memes. They kind of let the cat out of the bag because, well, the memes that they're using have only really been of the far right. Now, why is MAGA basically doing this? Why are they seeming to ignore a lot of the evidence that points to this being a Groyper thing? Now, I can understand why Nick Fuentes and Laura Loomer are frantically saying, no, this is about, George Soros or anything. Not only because that fits their kind of worldview of, anti-Semitic talk, but as well, they don't want to, Charlie Kirk was a fairly popular MAGA host. They don't want to look like, that's not what they wanted. And as a matter of fact, Nick Fuentes even came on out. And I mean, if you want evidence to me that points that this is indeed Groyper, he came on out and said, if anyone is thinking of shooting somebody I disagree with, you're wrong. He very clearly, through his statement, implied that he felt as if he might have been responsible, and he wanted to let people that know that this is not what I want. I thought that was kind of interesting. Trump clearly wants Epstein off the front page. He clearly doesn't want people talking about Jeffrey Epstein. And I think he's just using the Charlie Kirk assassination to basically try to say, see, you can't talk about Jeffrey Epstein because Charlie Kirk. I honestly feel as if that's his whole goal. Republicans are embracing it, especially, and this is what I've noticed, the Republicans who are in deep red areas where this big, beautiful bill and the tariff issue is absolutely starting to dismantle the Republican stranglehold over those districts. They're the ones who are like, Civil War time, go get them, get your guns, go get them, gah, it's all them. The latest example of this is Senator Eric Schmidt, the absolutely a monstrous jackass out of Missouri. He launched into a tirade on Tuesday during Senate hearing where he angrily floated debunked conspiracy theories, shouted an expletive, and blamed the left for most instances of political violence. Specifically, Schmidt accused George Soros, once again, anti-Semitism. The billionaire philanthropist who supports liberal political causes for instigating violence. George Soros' empire has financed a vast ecosystem of radicals all working together, dropping off bricks at riots to unleash a tidal wave of violent anarchists on the streets, Schmidt shouted, speaking with a hearing in the Senate Judiciary Committee. And they prop it up with an army of researchers, experts, journalists, and propagandists who downplay the political violence. Soros is frequently cited as the boogeyman for the far right, having been scorned of many MAGA faithful since Trump's first campaign. Schmidt's claim that Soros funded an effort to supply rioters with bricks is another common claim from the far right, one that's been thoroughly debunked on multiple occasions, including during the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests and recently as a protest in Los Angeles this past summer. Yet Schmidt continued his tirade, arguing that the left was disproportionately responsible for the recent upsurge in political violence. We've had years of the left, their loudest voices calling anyone the right extremist. Schmidt said, extremist MAGA Republicans, fascist Nazis. Check yourself and don't give this both sides blank. First of all, from Minnesota, where Vance Belter killed Melissa Hortman, go blank yourself, you absolute douche nozzle. My God. Schmidt's claim that the left was a primary instigator of political violence is refuted, however, by multiple studies, including one published this last week by the libertarian think tank, the Cato Institute, where its study of the link found that of all the murders from terrorist attacks since 1975, right-winger terrorists were responsible for 11% of them. Left-winger terrorists were 2%. I'm presuming the remaining 83% were performed by people whose politics did not matter in their terrorism. They just were terrorists. Or maybe it's mental health. I don't know. But that's the Cato Institute. The left-wing Cato Institute says it is it's 5.5 times more likely that a terrorist attack, an assassination, a mass shooting that happens in this country is more likely done by Republicans than Democrats. 5.5 times. I should say Republicans and Democrats. I say right wing versus left wing. That's a more fair way to say it. That's a better way to say it. It doesn't stop the rest of these clowns, though. Attorney General Pam Bondi, the worst attorney general in the history of this country, defended the crackdown on unspoken employees, telling Fox News' Sean Hannity, it's free speech, but you shouldn't be employed anywhere if you're going to say that. Wow. So basically trying to stop free speech by saying you should be fired and homeless and starved to death on the streets if we don't like what you say. That's Pam Bondi, the worst attorney general we've ever had. And employers, you have an obligation to get rid of people. Once again, these are the same people who screamed cancel culture for the last 20 years. You need an obligation to fire people, to cancel them. When you need to look at people who are saying horrible things, they shouldn't be working with you. Cancel them, cancel them, cancel them. I added that last part. Also, Pam Bondi, though, told Axios her office is not prosecuting or investigating anyone for alleged hate speech, only free speech that she says unlawfully incites violence. Apparently, when she said she was going to go after hate speech, funny story, the MAGA people got all upset because they know that they engage in hate speech, and she just wanted to let them know, no, your hate speech is perfectly fine. Go after George Soros. You keep doing that. Go after the transgender community. Go after those. We're not going to get upset with this. This is just about going after the liberals. They're all lying. They're all lying. Like I said, the evidence clearly points to this possibly being a far right-wing influenced assassination, but the Republicans want to use it for their own personal gain. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
This year, the adventure is calling louder than ever before. Craft your own magic at the Wicked Wand Workshop. Race for glory at the Ninja Warrior Challenge. Or battle for honor at the Viking Invasion. Plus, enjoy classic favorites like live armored combat jousting or slay your hunger with tasty turkey legs. The Minnesota Renaissance Festival is back with new adventures. Get your tickets now at RenaissanceFest.com. Huzzah!
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com. McNeil.com.
Hey, it's Tom. There's a war being waged on clean energy. A bill in Congress could eliminate the 30% federal tax credit for solar by the end of 2025. And once it's gone, it may never come back. Fossil fuel giants and their MAGA friends in Washington want to kill green energy. But you can fight back. Going solar with All Energy Solar isn't just smart, it's a form of resistance. You choose where your money goes, not to utility companies, not to fossil fuel billionaires, but toward clean, renewable power for your home. A system from All Energy Solar works in Minnesota year-round because it runs on sunlight, not heat. So even in the dead of winter, you're generating electricity. And All Energy Solar helps you save with every rebate and incentive available. This is the moment to act. Waiting means risking with this tax credit and giving the upper hand to MAGA Republicans. So get your free consultation today at allenergysolar.com and take back your power.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show, now less suckier than other shows. Yeah, there you go. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I could bring up, God, was there a moment today where Kash Patel tried to downplay the Jeffrey Epstein case and said that the only people who were sex trafficked were to Epstein himself, to which immediately everyone said, well, then what's Ghislaine Maxwell doing in prison then? Because if all he was doing was having sex, then he was the pedophile, that's all it ended. You have him there. It is such a laughable lie. It is such a laughable lie because, I mean, let's be honest. If it all pointed to Epstein himself was the only person there, they would have released all this documentation earlier. Yeah, he did not have a good day. He basically was Mr. Shouty Pants, and the director of the FBI he had a little temper tantrum. Oh, he was so angry. How you dare you Democrats? It's going to be hilarious when the Democrats take back the Senate to watch all these guys get impeached. It is going to be a hoot. I actually do want to bring up, though, something else here because it is now coming. They are indeed going into Chicago. The Border Patrol agent who spearheaded the immigration crackdown that sparked widespread protests in Los Angeles announced on social media Tuesday that he has arrived in Chicago. Now, Chicago, I'm not going to suggest what you should do, but if everywhere this dude goes, someone screamed, "Narc!" I'm serious. He goes out, he tries to go get a Chicago-style hot dog. Narc! Oh, God. Oh, this guy, he thinks he's the toughest guy in town. Dude, if you have to go on out and pose and act like a tough guy, you're not really a tough guy. But okay. Well, Chicago, we have arrived, said Gregory Bovino in a post on Twitter that included footage of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement vehicles and arrests under Chicago streets and views of the downtown. Operation at Large is here to continue the mission we started in Los Angeles. Oh, yeah, because there's no immigrants in Los Angeles now, are there, idiot? We all know now Los Angeles looks like Topeka, Kansas now, man. There ain't it's all whitey town. Oh, God. So just go out there and this is all you're about. You're about just gonna go, violate some people's rights. That's all it is. Trump has promised for weeks that Chicago would see a surge in deportation and National Guard troops over the fierce objection of the local leaders and residents. Immigration advocates in Chicago said they had noticed an uptick in immigration enforcement agents in recent days as Trump targets Democratic strongholds. However, Trump has seesawed on sending in military deployment to Chicago. Neither, and once again, the problem that he's going to have, and I talked about this the other day, he's going to go into Memphis because the Republicans in Memphis who are in Tennessee, I should say, the Republicans in Tennessee, the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, far right, Groyper friendly Republicans of Tennessee, they're not going to challenge this, but Illinois will. And the last thing I think that Trump wants to do is have the state Supreme Court say, no, we don't want these troops here. You need to go. And he has to appeal this to the federal Supreme Court. Because I can tell you right now, I don't think that Supreme Court wants to set up a standard that a president can create a false national emergency and deploy the military. They might try to do it under the Gore v. Bush. Well, this is going to be applied one time and that's it. But Trump doesn't want to do one time. I have a feeling that even that Supreme Court would say, have you thought about this? Because if the Democrats take over, they could go and start storming, they could declare there's a meth epidemic, which there is in rural America, and start storming all the small towns and confiscate all the guns. Have you thought about that? Because I don't think you thought about that. Because if you just leave it up to whichever president can do that, well, I don't think it's going to go too well for you. Neither the focus nor size of the Border Patrol operation that Bovino references in his message Tuesday was immediately clear. And man, maybe he's just in town to get some food. Officials did not answer questions Tuesday about the scope of immigration enforcement in Chicago. The increased enforcement in recent days had deepened dread among Chicago's already fearful immigrant communities, leading to a cancellation delay of some of the celebrations for Mexican Independence Day, which was on Tuesday. Chief Bovino and CBP play a key support role in our targeted enforcement operations, said Tricia McLaughlin, the Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary, in a statement. Narc. Kristi Noem, hack, posted on Twitter that she was in Chicago and made clear we're not backing down. Oh, God. Our work is only beginning, the Homeland Security Secretary said. She is looking for puppies to shoot in the face. And if she finds them in Chicago, she will. In Los Angeles, Bovino's self-described turn and burn operation led to thousands of arrests. Agents smashed car windows, blew open a door in a house and patrolled MacArthur Park on horseback. It should be noted as well, the Homeland Security and the Department of Justice tried desperately to apply charges to people in these cases against them and consistently got laughed out of court. And in the Los Angeles case, it was to a point where they had to cut and run because judges were starting to wonder why exactly ICE agents were lying on their sworn affidavits when the video footage of the incidents clearly contradicted what they swear actually happened. And that's one of the reasons why they stopped trying to get prosecutions. They had gotten a bunch of ICE agents to lie about what was going on. And then when video evidence came on out, they had to, we're going to drop this case. We're not going to have this case. We don't want to prosecute. That's why they had to cut and run. J.B. Pritzker, the Illinois Democrat governor who has objected to any federal investigation, told reporters Monday that it is clear the immigration operations have been ramping up around Chicago. ICE has been gathering its agents. Okay, so once again, Chicago, I mean, just narc. It's always a good way of doing it. The one thing I'm going to say is this. Remember I was talking about the video evidence contradicted a lot of what these guys are saying? Every one of us has one of these glowing freaking rectangles now. All right? Every one of us does. Get your phone out. You start seeing the clown car brigade coming. Take the video footage and post it immediately. All right? All right. Chicago, Seattle, stay safe. Talk to you tomorrow. Minneapolis, St. Paul, hour 2 up next.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way a fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Hey, Minnesota, it's your favorite sexy liberal. Join me and my fellow cohorts in liberal justice weekdays from 8 to 11 on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Haya Panjwani. Prosecutors brought a murder charge against the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray described a note found indicating why Robinson targeted Kirk.
The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it."
AP Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports FBI Director Kash Patel had a testy hearing before a Senate panel today.
From the start, Patel sought to lay out the FBI's accomplishments during his young tenure, like violent crime arrests.
23,000, more than twice from the same time period last year.
And was defiant.
If you want to criticize my 16 years of service, please bring it on.
Democrat Cory Booker did.
You have assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI.
Adding,
I think you're not going to be around long.
Which led to a shouting match.
That tears this country apart.
To address your falsehoods.
Oh,
you
can try.
Democrat Richard Blumenthal noted Patel's pledge during his confirmation hearing to not seek retaliation against perceived Trump enemies and recounted a purge of top agents and executives.
I'm not going to mince words. You lied to us.
An angry Patel denied that.
The only way people get terminated at the FBI is if they fail to meet the muster of the job and their duties.
And says he does not take White House orders on whom to fire. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Oscar-winning director, actor, and indie patriarch Robert Redford died at 89 years old. In a 2003 AP interview, Redford said he didn't always play heroes.
Sometimes those characters, if you look carefully, are not Lily White. They just maybe come off that way. I don't know that there's any such thing as a pure hero. Even if you can look at all the great heroes of our time, Gandhi and people like that, you usually find there's some darker side to them.
This is AP News.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya guselkumab may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Your time is precious. Why are you still mowing your own lawn? I'm Alex Knorr, a young, hardworking entrepreneur
serving the Southwest Metro with affordable lawn care. At Buzzcut Mowing, I offer weekly mowing, leaf cleanups, aeration, dethatching, tree trimming, and mulch installation. I work hard so you can relax and enjoy time with family and friends. Call today and I'll handle the rest. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com. That's buzzcutmowingmn.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 89. Tonight, clear with a low around 67. And Wednesday, chance for thunderstorms with a high around 85. Discover perfection at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. From Philly steak to crispy chicken, every bite is exceptional. Add freshly fried fries or rings for a winning combo. Visit mavericksbeef.com or find them off Lexington and Roseville. Unforgettable sandwiches. Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Tuesday. Matt and Patrick and Brett is now in studio here with us. Brett, the Robert Redford passing away. What was your favorite Robert Redford movie?
There's a lot of them. I'm actually going to go sports movies because I haven't seen a lot of his older ones. The Natural.
The Natural. Well, did you ever see the one where he played? Was it Alpine downhill or Alpine skier? Was the one he played in a skier?
I haven't seen that one. No,
that was 1968 or so.
Yeah, so I will preface that my viewing of Robert Redford movies is a little limited, but that one's probably my favorite, though.
I hope all the streaming services do like they did with Gene Hackman, and all of a sudden, all his movies were showing up out there.
Oh yeah,
go watch Sneakers. That was 1992. That's a shockingly good movie. That is a really well done film. So I would suggest that. We, of course, here, anytime something that can be praised that's from Minnesota, we do it. Paige Beckers, Dallas Wings guard Paige Beckers was pretty much the runaway rookie of the year for the Dallas Wings for the WNBA. Beckers is a former UConn player to win the award, receiving 70 of 72 first place votes. What are the other 2 votes for? That's from a media panel, while Washington Mystics guard Sonia Citron got the other 2. Beckers was the number 1 selection in April's draft, helping the Huskies win their 12th national championship. The starter in all 36 appearances for the Dallas Wings. Beckers averaged 19.2 points, 5.4 assists, 3.9 rebounds, 1.6 steals, while shooting 47.4% from the floor and 88.8% from the free throw line. That's pretty good. She led all WNBA rookies in total points per game, total assists, and assists per game. Okay, what did the other person do to get 2 of those votes?
It's like whenever you have these sports voting things, there's always got to be one guy. I can't let that be a unanimous victory. We got to have the one naysayer.
She was the only WNBA player this season finished ranked in the top 10 in points, assists, and steals per game. All righty. Her 44 points against the Sparks on August 2nd set the WNBA single game rookie record. She made 17 of 21 shots and become the first player in WNBA history to score 40 or more points and shoot at least 80% from the field.
Yeah, just talk. 17 of 21 is pretty insane for a percentage in basketball. Just in case you're not aware, yeah.
The Wings went 10 and 30, 10 and 30.
So she was a little bit of a one-person team.
Yeah, she's barely going to be behind the Twins at this point. I don't know. Well, actually, the Twins they beat the Yankees last night and beat them convincingly. That was exciting.
Hey, glad to see they beat the Yankees when they're well out of contention.
Well, I like them beating the Yankees. I don't know if I'm going to go to the game tonight, but yeah. They basically missed playoffs. Will be the in the draft lottery again next season. I remember she was in classes with my son over at Hopkins. That's the part which is crazy. It's like, oh yeah, they kind of graduated the same high school the same year there. So,
well, if Dallas isn't winning very much, maybe the Lynx can convince them to do a trade.
Oh, they're not going to give up.
I don't think that's going to happen.
You get one of these marquee players, they're going to
yeah.
sink their talents in. Although she did kind of run I don't know if you saw this story, but when she got drafted, she didn't go to Dallas. As a matter of fact, there was like a week between when she got drafted by Dallas and she made some official appearances. And actually, I don't know if the WNBA was going to look into that and make some adjustments, but some people kind of got the wrong vibe with that. Like, okay, you do understand you have to go down here and you need to go down and be part of your new team. But, she did get down there and she does seem to be part of the Dallas community, which is great and all that good stuff. But still, I mean, yeah, she kind of ruffled some feathers with that. It just didn't show up saying, I'm glad to be here. of course, once again, 10-30, and she's a really good player. Not exactly the surrounding supporting cast you would hope for.
I don't know if I'd be glad to be there too, to be a superstar and still go 10-30.
You've been drafted by Dallas. Oh, okay. Really? All right. I'll drive down slowly. It's like, do you need an airline flight? No. I'll take U.S. highways down. 51 or something like that goes down there. So we have another one that has closed. A name that I had grown up with my entire life in this town is no longer in existence as far as a business. Willette Bakeries are now officially gone. Now, we talked before. They weren't doing great anyway, but they're now, we can call it. Well, they're saying they're reorganizing, but if you got no stores open anymore, Willette Bakery, a Twin Cities institution since 1944, has quietly closed its last remaining location in Uptown Minneapolis, the latest in a series of shutdowns in recent years. The Lee storefront at 822 West Lake Street went dark about 10 days ago, said company spokesperson Rob Lear, and Tuesday adding that the closure is part of a massive ongoing reorganization. This same thing happened to the Titanic. It's a reorganization. Who needs a furnace where the furnaces are supposed to be? We'll have them slam into each other, and they're all in the front now. Mass reorganizations, the bakery's parent company. At this time, there's no plans to reopen near this location. I'm going to guess that means Minnesota. The company continues to operate its Hans Bakery in Anoka and a baker's wife pastry shop in South Minneapolis, he says, as well as its ongoing online catering business. Owner Eric Sjogren could not immediately be reached for comment. The interior of Uptown Diner has been partially gutted. The family-owned business built its reputation on tradition and neighborhood ties before bought in 2019. He also acquired Hans, a baker's wife, Grandma's Bakery in White Bear Lake, and Emily's Bakery in Hastings. Grandma's closed in 2023. Emily's closed in 2021. It was a Willette location for a little bit, but that closed. They pledged to preserve Willette's classic recipes while updating the operations, appealing to younger customers. But the bakery soon faced challenges. Complaints mounted over quality and selection. I will say that. I used to go to, there's a Willette's Bakery, and I was over by 50th and France. I know. Oh my God. I was over by 50th and France. There was a Willette's that was over there. I'd go in there. I always loved their wild rice bread. That was good. Did you ever have that?
I have not, no.
Oh, it was tasty. It was solid. But they always had a full cabinet. And I remember after these guys bought them, that it was half the cabinets, half the counter space was empty. And they just didn't, and they never had wild rice bread anymore. It was always out. Either it was out or they just weren't baking it. I don't know. The bakery faced challenges. The landlords were filing eviction notices for unpaid rent. In recent years, Willette's locations also shuttered in Wayzata, downtown Minneapolis, and in St. Paul. That was the one that was down. Do you know what building that was? It was the Skyway. Oh gosh, I can't remember. It was up just to the east of Gavaday is where that one was. Up in there. We had that cool hanging art piece. I know the place exactly. I just can't remember which building that is. The financial troubles worsened in 2024 when the Chicago-based bank sued the companies for defaulting on more than $1.3 million in loans. Ew. Like I said, I don't think they're coming back. Despite the turmoil, Sjogren said at the time the business was not going under and pointed to plans to restructure. Once again, just like the Titanic, which now in two pieces. It's now in two pieces at the bottom of the Atlantic. Schinders. Were you around when Schinders was
I was around when Schinders, yeah.
God, man. Patrick, you remember Schinders?
I actually wish there was still a Schinders type store.
It was the best comic book store in town. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I never went back to that adult section back there. I mean, come on, guys. But they did. I mean, I love the fact that they had every music magazine you could want in that place until they started having the problems. And wasn't that a family member and a drug issue or something like that?
Oh, was it? Yeah,
I can't remember the whole thing. I don't know. Don't take me on that. But I think that was part of the problem there. Here's the thing I want to ask the question about. So anytime Nicollet Mall loses a store, regardless of whether or not that store shut down because of lack of traffic on Nicollet Mall, or because retail pretty much has taken it right in the old, boxer shorts. And so no one's opening retail sites anymore, which is the problem. I don't quite understand. We have the Republicans come out like Nicollet Mall's a ghost town. Well, Washington is packed, and North Loop is packed, and Lynn Lake is packed. No, you stop mentioning those locations. Only focus on Nicollet Mall. Are these same people going to now go crazy and say, well, the Uptown location, the Edina location, the Wyzetta location, why aren't these areas? They're a ghost town now because they don't have a Ouellette's. Are they going to do that?
Yeah, 50th in France. Yeah, that's a real ghost town. Same with downtown Wyzetta.
Well, it sounds just as stupid as when they say it about Nicollet Mall, which, by the way, I was just there. It looked pretty busy to me. I'm just saying. Hennepin Avenue. Have you been on Hennepin lately? That like Chicago. Hennepin Avenue is like Chicago now. You walk down the street and there's always people going north and south on it. It's crazy. Anything by First Avenue? Crazy over there. How many people are downtown? Nope. It's is 50th in France a ghost town? We're gonna get a cease and desist letter by even suggesting that from the city of Edina.
They had some construction over there, but it's very open over there. Lots of places, yes.
I know all about that construction. I had an appointment today. I had to go north on Highway 100. And now even the Eden Avenue exit is closed down. Oh, and so I got routed up towards St. Louis Park. And of course, their detour takes you basically all the way over to freaking France Avenue and cuts down that way because convenience. You might as well route me to St. Paul to get to Edina from that point. That's just FYI. Yeah, I imagine they're feeling it pretty bad right now because the 50th Vernon Bridge is taken out. They've got it up again. They just got to get it fixed in place. But yeah, I don't think I'm helping with the whole thing. Well, since the Ouellette's closed, clearly 50th of France. Ghost town! If you think that sounds stupid, imagine how the rest of us feel when Republicans scream that about Nicollet Mall. Yes, Macy's is not there, but I don't think that's Minneapolis's fault. I think that's just, as everyone buys everything on Amazon, that's kind of what has done that in. So there you go. 952-946-6205. You're here for a reason. Of course, it is our usual Tuesday, which means you get to yap it on up there with Patrick Cooligan over the Minnesota Reformer.
Yeah, and as you might imagine, we are going to mainly be talking about Governor Tim Walz announcing he is going to seek re-election for an unprecedented third term.
Yes.
Talk about what that means. Plus, the state Senate held a working group, at least a group of DFLers held a working group on gun legislation. We'll talk about that, including an interesting proposal from Glenn Grunhagen that we'll highlight at the very end of this.
Okay.
He wasn't there in person, it sounds like, but he submitted a proposal based on a former COVID skeptic doctor, and we'll get more into it during the interview. And plus, we'll also talk about what the legislature could be looking at in the special session coming up.
Grunhagen. All righty. It's Patrick Cooligan with Brett right here on AM 950.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's a Tuesday afternoon, and that means it's time to talk with Patrick Cooligan, who is the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. Make sure you go to minnesotareformer.com to find the best in Minnesota news and politics. As today we're going to be heavily focused on Minnesota politics. As you've probably seen, that Governor Tim Walz has announced that he will be seeking re-election for a third term as Minnesota governor. We'll talk about what that means. Plus, we'll talk more about guns as a Senate working group recently held a session. This is again outside of the regular session. They held their own special working group about some different gun proposals that we'll talk about. So a lot to get to today. Patrick, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So we got to start off talking about Governor Tim Walz officially making it a case for a third term as Minnesota's governor. And what I found interesting was that back at the state fair, Governor Walz was pretty non-committal about running again. So what do you think changed over the past few weeks to really push him over the edge to decide to run for re-election now?
It seems as if the Annunciation mass shooting really motivated him to make another run. And it does seem like a kind of catalyzing event after this difficult summer in which he lost his friend and governing partner, the Speaker Emerita, Melissa Hortman. But I think he found a reason to run again, and it really returns to some of the themes that he's been working on for several years, and particularly make Minnesota the best place in America to raise a family, raise children. And I think that Annunciation shooting obviously was a seminal event for him and for the state, and really focused his mind.
Well, it's really amazing to go back and think about the number of crises that Walz has dealt with over the past 6+ years or so. We look at the pandemic, of course, the police murder of George Floyd, also the murder of the Hortmans, as well as the Annunciation shooting. So Walz is certainly framing his campaign as really being a steady leader through multiple crises that he's faced as the governor. So I'm wondering, how effective do you think that message has been so far? And do you think it'll resonate with Minnesotans after nearly 8 years in office, that idea of kind of being that steady hand in very chaotic times?
Yeah, I mean, I think it cuts both ways. On the one hand, he's not somebody who's going to learn on the job, having managed all these crises. And he explicitly made an argument a couple of weeks ago about not wanting to change horses midstream, which I think is an old DR motto. On the other hand, there's a possibility that folks, that voters will, when they think of Tim Walz, they'll think of crisis and everything the state has been through. Not to say that he's caused it, but we've had a very a difficult 5 years in Minnesota. I think that's true in many places around the country. But can he be seen as someone who has helped us manage crisis rather than someone who has exacerbated those crises? And that'll be a key test for him.
Now, polling shows that most voters, not a huge majority, but at least a majority, don't want him to seek a third term for governor. And then you combine that with the many fraud programs that we've had in Minnesota over the past few years, and at least on paper, Walz looks like he would be vulnerable. But do you think that will even matter in the face of national headlines and, well, what's happening with the Trump administration in that 2026 election cycle? Could the entire national environment pretty much even overshadow what Governor Walz and his Republican opponent might even do during a governor campaign in 2026 here in Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, we've never had a governor serve 3 4-year terms. And the last one who tried, Rudy Perpich, a Democrat from the Iron Range, lost in 1990. And as you said, the polling shows that a minority of folks, somewhere just above 40%, wanted him to run for another term. So a majority wanted somebody else. So I think that's working against him. And in response, he would need to kind of sketch out what does that third term look like and what is his vision for the future. But on the other hand, as you noted, he's got a lot going for him with respect to the national environment, because we certainly expect next year to be a good Democratic year. And of course, there's the ironclad rule of Minnesota politics that nobody will listen to me when I say this, but it's the fact that there are more Democrats here than Republicans. And so, he goes in with fundraising advantages, name recognition. He is a good campaigner. He's generally still popular, and he is going to be able to run against Donald Trump, whose numbers, the best they've ever been here, 45%, and he's lost 3 times here. The economy looks like it's not going to be in great shape in a year, both on the inflation and the unemployment side. So I think at this point he's probably a favorite, but I do think it's that third term creates maybe a mental block for a lot of voters.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out, too, as we were talking about some of that polling data that shows a majority don't want him to run for a third term. well, there probably are a portion of those people who don't want him to run for a third term that would very likely still vote for him in a general election against their Republican opponent. But as we said, Governor Walz officially has thrown his hat in the ring to seek now a third term as Minnesota governor. One final question for you. I was kind of curious about this. Obviously, with Peggy Flanagan running for Senate, has he given, or do we have any indications on who might be his running mate for lieutenant governor? Even though I know that role doesn't necessarily play a huge impact on the campaign or even necessarily governing. But do we have an indication who might be the new lieutenant governor should Walz win?
Yeah, I mean, I think their attitude is it can really only hurt them. It's not really going to help them, and it's not a decision they need to make. And I don't think they feel any pressure to make that decision. Certainly this calendar year, and there's no reason why they can't wait. This is different than in 2017. In the fall of 17, he selected Peggy Flanagan. It was kind of a splashy pick that helped him with his kind of left flank. They don't need to do that. And I'm certain they have no interest in doing that, despite all the speculation. And speculation only, it helps them in some way, but they're in no rush to pick a successor to Flanagan.
Well, moving on now, let's talk about guns, because that's certainly going to be another topic at the state legislature, especially in an expected special session that could be happening within the next few weeks. And one of the great writers at the Reformer, Madison McVan, put together a list of some common gun control ideas and, well, their effectiveness over the past few years or so. And before we dive into some of those, I think what's an important part that she brought up in that article was that while mass shootings typically draw the most media attention, only 1% of firearm deaths in the U.S. occur in mass shootings, as most are with suicides or some other form of accidental death. And I think that seems to be a key point when talking about gun violence, is that we're not just talking about mass violence mass shootings. A lot of these are unfortunately suicides or maybe someone leaving a gun unlocked. And I think sometimes those kind of get overlooked when we look at gun safety measures.
Yeah, absolutely. The mass shootings get most of the attention, but most people, as you noted, the high rate of suicide, and then also in most homicides, people know each other, and it's often an intimate partner, and often those are results of handgun deaths. So when we talk about gun control, certainly limiting these mass shootings is important, but there's a whole heck of a lot of homicides and suicides that we could prevent with some other gun control measures.
Now, just in the name of time, we won't dive through every piece of gun control legislation that's been passed, obviously, over the past few years that Madison had a chance to look at. But one that caught my eye was, of course, these red flag laws, because they are relatively new in Minnesota. So I'm curious, what does the data say about how effective these red flag laws have been at preventing shootings or suicides?
There's a couple states where we have some data, and one is in Indiana, where there's been a 7.5% reduction in firearm suicides since they passed their law, and then 14% in Connecticut. So that's pretty significant. The problem with our red flag law right now is I think people don't know, not enough people know about it, and so we need to get the word out. And then once the judge gives the order, we have to make sure that law enforcement actually goes and confiscates the guns, which is certainly a difficult assignment. But I think it's been shown, at least on a limited basis with the data we have, that it can prevent tragedy.
I'll encourage you to check out that entire article over at MinnesotaReformer.com titled "Here's What the Data Says About Some Common Gun Control Ideas." Again, find that over at MinnesotaReformer.com. And staying on the topic of guns, lawmakers recently held a special meeting of the Senate Gun Violence Prevention Working Group to hear testimony from parents, also first responders, and faith leaders following the tragic shooting at Annunciation in Minneapolis a few days ago. So I'm curious, what was this working group and what exactly were they doing? Because as I understand, this is not an official part of the Minnesota State Legislature, but they were able to hear a lot of testimony and also go over some possible ideas for gun safety measures in a upcoming special session.
Yeah, there was some really powerful testimony from doctors and some parents of children who were in the church. And I mean, this, as you said, they're not in legislative session. Governor Walz has talked about calling a special session. We do expect that to happen. But even if he does, and they go into session, there just aren't the votes, I don't think, to pass significant legislation because Republicans share control of the House, and I don't really see them voting in favor of any gun control legislation. You only need one vote, so maybe. But there's also problems in the Senate DFL caucus. There's several Greater Minnesota senators who were not supportive of an assault weapons ban in 2023, and so they'd have to be brought along. The important thing about this hearing is that you're really educating the public and getting the word out about which proposals and the impact that they might have. Something that I think that the gun rights movement has been, they're just long time horizon. They very incrementally chipped away at gun control to the point now where we have this incredibly permissive legal and cultural infrastructure for gun rights. And I think that the gun control movement needs to think in the same way, not about the next session or special session or the next election, but really as a 30, 40, 50-year project where you've got to work on it, the judiciary, legislative solutions, and also cultural to really change how Americans think about guns. And I think that this kind of work that they did at this hearing yesterday is it's the right thing to be doing, but it's got to be sustained.
Yeah, very much the long game. And I'm not sure if this is the best example, but you look at Prohibition and how many decades it took for that to finally come to fruition. Unfortunately, yeah, the same approach might be needed with gun safety measures as well to get some really large, long-lasting gun safety measures eventually passed. I got one final question on this because, as I understand it, we had a proposal submitted by Republican Glenn Grunhagen, and I'm curious what he submitted to this working group because, as I understand it, this was he was citing someone who was a natural medicine doctor who spread false information about COVID before, dying of the virus himself back in 2021. What do we know about this Grunhagen proposal that was submitted?
You know what? Once I read that sentence that you just read about the COVID truther who died of COVID, I thought was the finest sentence that we published yesterday, and so I'm not clear exactly. I'm not concerned about his proposals becoming law, but look who's the Secretary of HHS now, so you never know.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part too. When you think, RFK, if we had talked about him 10 years ago, we would say there's no way he could ever be in a position of power. And lo and behold, he's now the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So you never know.
Right.
But yeah, that's at least Grunhagen did at least have a little bit of a role to play in that working group that was held. You can read more about what happened at least with that working group, as well as some of these gun safety measures that Madison wrote about, as well as Governor Walz seeking re-election for a third term as Minnesota's governor. Find those all over at MinnesotaReformer.com. We have been speaking with the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. That's Patrick Coolican, who joins us every Tuesday. Patrick, as always, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, let's take a break and send things back over to Matt McNeil on AM 950.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP, or visit snapconstruction.com.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
The Brave New Workshop is a Minneapolis tradition and the nation's longest-running comedy theater, finding ways to make people laugh about things that should make them cry for over 65 years. And who doesn't need a good laugh right now? Seriously, who doesn't need a laugh? Come see their fall show, Hippocalypse Now, a hilarious look at a world where what people say and what people do are completely unrelated. Playing now through November 1st at the Dudley Riggs Theater in Minneapolis. Tickets available at hennepinarts.org. That's hennepinarts.org.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. It's the start of our favorite season in Minnesota, football season. With all the hype and action this season brings, we know things can get loud and messy quick. Before you invite your friends and family over to watch the big game, you better call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to clean up all of those fumble moments in your home. And as always, you can score a guaranteed touchdown with great savings from Zero Res this month. Carpet, tile, rugs, upholstery, every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. And this month you can get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129, plus $75 off an air duct cleaning. And don't forget about your dryer vent, too. Having Zero Res over will be a big victory for your home. You'll always come away a winner, even if the guys in the purple or the maroon don't. Call 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res. With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 68, then Wednesday, sunshine with a high of 85. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities and so much more. Add fresh fries or onion rings for a winning combination. Check out Mavericks on Lexington Avenue in Roseville, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit mavericksbeef.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Well, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about walls here. I want to make sure I mention, talk a little bit about it. First of all, can I just make one criticism? Governor Walz, you made a post on Twitter? You mean the site where the guy hates you and wants you to lose and is working as hard as possible to basically defeat you? Blue Sky. If you're looking to make a social media post on a social media network that's not trying to kill all Democrats, chances of being elected, then Blue Sky. Blue Sky is the one you should be putting your post on. Blue Sky. Just a suggestion. Governor Walz running for third term at the helm of Minnesota. He made historic progress in the state, but we're not done yet. He vowed to stay and fight and told Minnesotans he needs them with him. If successful in 2026, would make Walz's third term in the governor's mansion. In the video, Walz called Minnesota the best place on earth with the best people, citing accomplishments that include passing family leave, raising graduation rates, making historic investments in public safety, and lowering taxes for the middle class. He also notes it has been a terrible year, setting the loss of lives to gun violence and pressing need for gun control package. DFL supporters are embracing the announcement, calling Walz' administration example of leaders of the country. Tim Walz is focused on making your life more safe, secure, and affordable, said Minnesota DFL party chairman Richard Carl Boom. From targeted investments in education, housing, and free school meals to delivering the largest child tax credit in the country, Minnesotans thank Tim Walz for putting money back in their pockets. One of the largest investments was placing billions in the state's savings account to protect our balanced budget from Trump's disastrous economic policies. You can't deny that the fiscal decisions that this guy has made is. We just had our Moody rating just approved at AAA again. You know, we got our Moody rating for the state is AAA. We're one of only 16 states that's there, and this country is not in a good financial place, but Minnesota is, thanks to Governor Walz. State Republicans have a different take, insisting Minnesotans are struggling under Walz's failed leadership. No, guys, that's Trump. Okay, that's Trump doing. He basically, I can point a direct line A to B on that one. Trump is screwing over rural Minnesota. I know. The more you learn. Republican Party Chair of Minnesota Alex Pleasure said the administration has put $10 billion in new taxes on the plates of Minnesotans, says crime is rising and alleges giveaways to illegal immigrants are responsible for rising costs and declining services. Governor Walz's record is one of misplaced priorities and broken promises. His claim that we're getting justice started is not a promise, it's a threat, said Pleasure in a release statement. Minnesotans can't afford 4 more years of higher taxes, failing schools, unsafe streets, fraud, and policies that undermine. So let's put that little swipe in there. Anti-transgender as a official policy of the Republican Party in Minnesota. At least that's what it sounds like. If not for Governor Walz and the Democrats of the state, we would be freaking South Dakota. Ugh. That was, by the way, that was in my entire radio career. One of my favorite moments was when the Republicans said, we want to pull off the western 2/3 of the state and join South Dakota. And I think they thought we would be upset about this. And we're like, all right, off you go. Was that going to be a surprise for you? Oh, God. And by the way, you could already see the counties that they were insisting wanted to come with us going like, guys, no, I like it here. Walz shocked many both across the state and the nation when he upset long-sitting Republican Congressman Gil Gutnick in 2006 to represent Minnesota's 1st district. He won re-elections multiple times until 2018 when he returned to Minnesota to take on the helm as governor. He has since served 2 terms as the state's most powerful politician. The last few years have been more unsettled on the home front. Walz's administration has been plagued by large-scale fraud and the involving state administrative programs. Well, the administration hasn't been plagued by it. It's the state has been plagued by it, by people that basically are out there looking at any program and trying to steal from it. As a matter of fact, there was a lot of interesting articles right now about ghost students at colleges where people are stealing people's identity, enrolling in college and trying to get government money for student loans and financial assistance and then not being there. And most of the times that's caught, but yeah, we have to understand the modern age that unless you put fail safes in place to allow for oversight and management of said program, that there are just too many people out there and way too organized who are going to try to take advantage of that and feeding our future. Primary example, the housing assistance program, another example. The daycare thing that was being abused. I think that was more of a federal program there, but you just got these people that are taking advantage of it, and you've got to put that in there. Now, once again, I don't know if that's so much Walz. There's a lot of Republicans that voted for these programs too. So, some of those programs. So I'm not exactly sure how you level the blame. I will say this. in particular with the Feeding Our Future, I feel as if it took way too long to realize, okay, these numbers just don't make any damn sense anymore. And something is seriously going on. But once again, you had a judge basically saying you couldn't stop the payments. Multiple Republicans have launched campaigns to challenge Walz in 2026, including 2022 opponent Dr. Scott Jensen, the witch doctor. Which doctor is it? The doctor that's a doctor, or the doctor that thinks that COVID is made up? Kendall Qualls, State Representative Kristen Robbins. Kristen Robbins, she's a hoot. She's already like, I'm the most Trumpiest Trump. And I can tell you right now, there is no chance in hell you are going to win the governorship of the state of Minnesota being Trump's best buddy. But she apparently thinks that that's... I can't wait. If she was to win the Republican nomination, which I highly doubt because, misogyny within the Republican Party, my guess is going to be is that whoever said I like Donald Trump, which is why, may I make the suggestion for the Governor Walz team right now, get on out there, and anytime she says I love Trump, get that on video, because if you ram that on the air in all the bye-bye, bon voyage. I will ask this question, though, in regards to the coverage of this, because this didn't seem like it was a difficult story to report on. I mean, it really didn't. Governor Walz announces he was running for a third term. There's your headline. Right? There's your headline. As a matter of fact, I went around to pretty much every news outlet I could find, and that was pretty much a variation of that was the headline. It's simple, easy, it's factual, it's non-political, it's just a statement. Walz announces he's running for a third term. There's your headline. Not for the Star Tribune. Walz faces headwinds as he announces bid for third term as Minnesota governor. Dude, okay. It is pretty comical that you guys are doing that headline, because that's not a headline. That is you inserting a narrative into the freaking headline. That's all that is. The story is Walz announces he's running for a third term. You going out there and says he faces headwinds. I wouldn't run if I was Governor Walz. And that, you guys think that's news? I get it. Okay, so I have to ask the question about the Star Tribune. Are you guys okay over there? I don't think you guys are doing too well. After the Annunciation shooting, you guys had an article where the entire point was, for us in rural Minnesota, guns are the best thing ever. Paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing. But it kind of was one of those things as you guys just see them as vehicles to destroy people's lives. We have a history with guns in rural Minnesota. To say that was in poor taste in the aftermath of a mass shooting is a gross understatement. As a matter of fact, it almost makes me, I mean, that's like the NRA paid you to do that editorial. And I don't, or opinion piece or whatever, essay, letter, I don't know. But that was misguided. Then yesterday, we brought up the story from the Racket guys, where the argument was that the restaurateur from, where was that there? It was Ann Kim, was being canceled. She's being canceled because she closed down a restaurant because they had a union vote and it went on there. And not only did the Racket guys point out, it's like, okay, wait, whoa. You guys are kind of misquoting things. I mean, she's not been canceled. Apparently there was a dispute with a landlord. That was the cause of that. That's not canceled. And the story goes on to point out that Ann Kim is dramatically increasing her corporate footprint in a positive way. I mean, having Target carry some of her products, that's fantastic. And the media of this town can't not do a positive story on her. They have to do positive stories on her. That's not being canceled. That's being heralded. Okay. Do you guys understand that? But because you wanted to push this as some sort of, I don't know, anti-leftist screen, I don't quite know what you guys were trying to do with that. She's not being canceled, man. She's not. And now you have this, because once again, I want to repeat, there is an easy headline here that's not exactly heavy lifting. Walz announces he's running for a third term. And here you guys are now. Walz faces headwinds as he announces a bid for third. I get it. You want to appeal to MAGA in outstate Minnesota. I can't help you guys. You're adding context here that shows an agenda. I am not all the president's men. I am not Woodward and Bernstein. I am not. I am a freaking trained chimp. I'm a radio host, okay? That's what I am. The fact that I can look at you and call what you're doing with pretty good authority pretty crappy journalism should be a huge red flag for you guys. All right? And whether it's the gun thing or the Ann Kim thing, or now, once again, for some reason, you deciding that Walz announcing he's running for a third term isn't punchy enough of a headline that to make sure that MAGA likes your newspaper, you have to like, boy, is he facing headwinds. Boy, oh boy, I wouldn't run for him. He better think again about this. I mean, that's kind of the narrative you're putting forward. Otherwise known as your journalistic integrity sucks right now. You guys need to stop. And it's not the journalists, because I know a lot of the great journalists over there. There are a lot of great people that write for the Star Tribune. This is the editors. You guys need to, all right, I believe it's an early 1990s quote. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. All right, I don't, was that Clinton? I don't know. I can't remember. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break, come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
This year, the magic is calling you like never before. Craft your own magic at the Wicked Wand Workshop and race for glory at the Ninja Warrior Challenge. Feast on hearty turkey legs and cheer on live combat jousts. There's something for everyone in our magical village. Bring your family, bring your friends, and create memories that will last through the ages. The Minnesota Renaissance Festival, weekends August 16th through September 28th. Don't miss the adventure. Get your tickets at renaissancefest.com.
Hey, it's Mitch, owner of Junk Masters, your local independently owned junk removal team. We are not a franchise, and that means personalized service you can count on. Spring's the season for cleaning out the things you're ready to let go of. Whether it's one item or a full property cleanout, we handle it all, residential or commercial. You just show us what goes. With same-day service, upfront, no-obligation pricing, and a landfill diversion program that prioritizes donating, recycling, and reuse. Visit junkmastersmn.com to learn more.
Get ready for the music event of the season. Powderhorn Porch Fest returns Saturday, September 20th, 4 to 10 p.m. for another legendary evening of 13 epic performances across 3 uniquely Powderhorn Porch stages featuring genres from hip-hop, R&B, surf punk, Latin folk, and more. Powderhorn Porch Fest spans 2 blocks on 17th Avenue South between 32nd and 34th Street. KRSM will be spinning beats with the diverse sounds of the South Side all night long. Treat yourself to Minneapolis' favorite food trucks, then grab a refreshing cold drink at the Beer Garden. The festival's family-friendly by day with activities for kids and an unforgettable celebration for adults after dark. Best of all, Powderhorn Porch Fest is free to attend with proceeds supporting the community programs of Powderhorn Park Neighborhood Association. Don't miss out on this one-of-a-kind music and community celebration. Powderhorn Porch Fest, September 20th, 4 to 10 p.m. Details at ppna.org/porchfest.
So an atheist, a Christian, and a Buddhist walk into a church. There's no punchline. That's just what happens every Sunday at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis. Join us for Sundays Reimagined or live stream at firstunitarian.org. Looking for community without doctrine? Questions without judgment? Think outside the pew. Join us for Sundays Reimagined at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis or live stream at firstunitarian.org.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. So we did have another mass shooting that injured 8 people. Was the shooting that happened over at basically Lake Street and 35W yesterday where the 5 people were shot? Are these connected? I'm wondering if there's some connection here, because this is just a smidge odd that all of a sudden a bunch of homeless people and apparently the area where that shooting was where the 5 people were shot was just a kind of a pickup spot for day laborers. So I'm presuming immigrants. So immigrants and homeless people are shot at one place, and then a bunch of homeless people are shot at another place. I've got some questions about what's going on here. Mayor Fry quickly announced the city is going to close that homeless encampment. This was a Minneapolis landlord's private homeless encampment that the city had been sparring with this individual following the mass shooting that injured 8 people. The city had been trying to shut this down for weeks. The result of the Monday night shooting on East Lake Street at 28th Avenue South, he described the encampment as a danger to the community. If the landlord wants to sue us, we'll see him in court, the mayor said in a statement online. It will be a choice. It's his choice to prevent us from closing it twice before, and this won't be tolerated. Last week, the Minneapolis City Council approved a lawsuit against Hamoudi Sabri, who invited dozens of unhoused people to set up their tents on the parking lot behind the vacant building that he owns, and rejected a request to shut down the encampment. I did not create this crisis. I responded to it by opening my property to people with nowhere else to go, by inviting the city to collaborate on real solutions, Sabri wrote in a statement. That invitation still stands. Now, I will say this. We obviously, there's a lot of different places we can go with this. It is insanely disturbing that we used to say to ourselves when we were confronted with the homelessness problem that we need to do something. We need to make more shelters. We need to get more counselors. Mental health is always a big problem. And we did. I mean, we actually did with the veterans. There was this big movement in the state, bipartisan, to get the homeless veterans off the street. And although I can't say it's absolute, it pretty much was they were feeling as if they had gotten most of the veterans off the street, which is kind of hard to see what's gone on in the state in regards to homelessness since then. Because once again, particularly on the right, you got a lot of people who claim Jesus is my compass. Jesus told us directly to take care of homeless people. And you say, well, my compass doesn't work on that one. All right, well, that's kind of weird. We used to have people that cared about this, and now it just seems like in the age of Trump, it's like, take them to the edge of town and let somebody else deal with them. Anyway, I mean, it's clearly having a situation where these people are vulnerable as they are is not good. Gunfire erupted around 10 p.m. Monday at the encampment. 5 men, 3 women were injured. 2 of the victims, a man and a woman, suffering life-threatening gunshot wounds to the head. Sabri claims Frey is a real moral failure and alleges the mayor displaces instead of heals, retaliates instead of collaborates, and chooses optics over human care. I don't know. Are these two shootings related? Can somebody answer that question? Native Roots Radio is up next. Have a good one. We are back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.
Native American women and girls have dreams. They don't want to be 1 in 3 of every female who has been sexually abused. Many do everything in their power to make sure they are protected from being sexually assaulted.